So, hello there, good evening. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are. I'm Dr. Anna, and we're going to work together today with Research Project. I hope that you're all fine and ready to get started with your project. Many of you may not be working yet on your project, but it's time to start thinking about it. Trust me, you have to mature the idea, you have to analyze the different prospects and topics available. So we're going to get started. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm just going to double check here if all of my screens are okay. Yeah, so I can see now the chat box is here. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll certainly reply and answer any doubts. So we're going to get started by understanding what is a research paper. Many of you may have already done a research paper previously for other courses that you have taken and postgraduate courses. So just to refresh your mind, in Canvas, there are 4 proposals as, as topics for the research paper. We will look into that later on, but just so that you know, this is the link where you can get it. And if we click, you will go straight to the page. There are 4 topics that you can choose from. Of course, they're flexible and you can adjust to the research that you would like to develop. So a research paper, in fact, it is an in-depth consideration of a topic. That means you're going to read not only one author, but several authors. You're going to see different perspectives about the topic concerning your research. So it's in depth because you will read several references. Now, it presents an original thesis statement, not an original, brand new topic. It's the thesis statement that has to be original, meaning that you can't copy it from anywhere. It's your thesis statement. It's what you intend to do. It's your goal. So this is unique. All thesis statements, they have to be unique. It will engage with primary and secondary sources. We're going to look into what is a primary and secondary source just to refresh your mind. And somehow it will contribute with something new to the field. Every time that we analyze, that we read, that we write about a specific topic, we are putting in our own perspective, our own experience, and that is a contribution to other teachers and experts in the same field. So it will contribute. Now, a research paper, it is similar. Just try to make this a little bit smaller because it is similar to an academic essay, but longer, with more pages, more elements included. Have introduction, development, and conclusion, but in a different, it is written in a different, with a different structure. It will access your writing skills, but also your skills as a researcher. And it requires you'll have to show in your research paper strong knowledge concerning the topic that you have chosen to develop. And that is done by engaging several sources, a variety of sources, and making a contribution to the debate. There are many topics that have been debated exhaustively already, such as what is the best method to teach children. But your experience teaching children and the method that you apply, or the blended method that you apply, is unique because you have a specific group, you live in a specific country. So that is how you're going to contribute, by sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge, and connecting that with references. So the references, they will support what you're going to discuss. That is the purpose of reading and citing your references, so that they complement, not complement, I would say they cooperate with your point of view. So the stages of the process, we start by research and planning, then write, and then revision. So before you start writing, you have to do research and plan. What is your project? What is your topic? And then you'll do some research to identify how viable it is. Sometimes you may choose a topic that there isn't literature available, so then you'll have to opt for a different procedure to develop your research, maybe a field study, or you can do also research surveys. So you have to decide how you're going to conduct, but most likely, in order to make this decision, you have to first do research about the topic that you would like to develop. So before you get started, the first thing is for you to identify the assignment goal, the deadline, specifications, format, submission method, all of that. We will see it's available in our platform. So you should dedicate time going over the assignment, carefully reading the information in it. You see how it will be graded, or any other materials that you have received, and that there's plenty of material in the platform. You should make a list, okay, of the key points, and then as you tick off, you can cross off. So it's important that you have a list of the steps that you have to take. So the first one, do research, identify the topic that you want to work on, check if it's viable, check resources, literature, decide if you're going to work with field study or field research, surveys or not. There are many steps that you have to take before concluding a research paper. So the list is helpful. Consider your time frame, word limit, and be realistic. I know that as teachers, we love to do research, we love to contribute, it's our nature, but you have to consider the time that you have available to develop this research. So you'll have to narrow it down and limit your research according to the time frame that you have, the word count, and of course, the topic, right? And then you will write and edit. Editing is one of the most important parts. So in order to choose a research paper topic, how can we do this? Well, you're going to clearly define and narrow down your topic. So that, of course, there are 4 topics, but even within the topics proposed, you will have to narrow it down. Don't neglect the guidelines given, such as word count and structure and format. Sometimes you're given a list of choices, which is the case here, and sometimes you have freedom to choose. Consider what was covered on the course, so that you can use the references in Moodle as your source of research. And of course, follow your heart, passion, and curiosity. Choose a topic that you're passionate about, because then you will be more motivated to do research and to develop your final paper. It's important to investigate and understand all the different viewpoints. So that's why you're going to read different authors and different schools of thought, so that you have different perspectives in order to analyze. Explore the literature. You really have to explore the literature available. Books, journals, and nowadays, of course, we know that many resources are online. Academic journals, articles, there's a lot online. Google Academic is an excellent source to get started. So, and when you find an article in Google Academic, it is there, it has been listed. Most likely, it is a reliable source. Always consider different perspectives. I know that you may have already a position, but regardless of your position, it's important as a researcher to analyze, read, and be aware of all the the perspectives concerning the topic that you're developing. And always keep notes. Keep notes of everything that you think of. Don't trust your memory. Jot down whatever comes to your mind. And we know that this happens. Suddenly you're just out of the blue, an idea pops up. I don't know, write it down, record it on your mobile somehow, but don't lose the idea. That's the most important. So, in terms of primary and secondary sources, what's the difference? Well, the primary sources, they are the first-hand evidence. So usually they come like in interview transcripts, the works of art or literature, documents, statistical data. The secondary sources, they they are based on commentary or analysis of the primary sources. So you will use then journal articles, books, reviews, because all the articles, they somehow they refer to primary sources or documents or data. Somehow they refer to a primary source, as well as books and of course reviews. So there is the CRAP test, and it's not the crap that is used in an informal way. It's the crap here is the currency. So is the information up to date? That don't some sources, some resources that you will read and that you will find, they may be, from, for instance, if you're going to do a paper on linguistics, the beginning of linguistics goes back to the 1960s. So you may end up using a source, which is the original, where it started. So then you will have, but of course, you're going to update that with new authors and new perspectives, even if the original source comes from the 1960s, okay, or 70s better. Relevance, is it relevant to your research? So the CRAP test is for you to decide if a document or an article or a book, if it will contribute to your research. So is the information up to date? Is it relevant to your research? Where is it published and who is the author? So if it's a blog or something informal that really you don't even know who the author is, you can use it maybe to illustrate and as an example in your final paper, but you can't use it as literature, as resource. Where does the information come from? Is evidence provided? And why was the information published? Because what is the purpose? Why was it published? The accuracy, authority. So all of this is your CRAP test: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. This is very helpful to decide if an article or a book or something that you read, a review, if it is appropriate to be used in your paper. So before you start writing, you have to have a clear idea of the structure, the outline. You have to organize your thoughts. Take time to do this. Don't skip this part, because once you have a nice outline, this will guide your research. Of course, before doing this outline, you should have read, about the topic and identified, as I said, is it viable? Is there literature available? If not, so you're going to conduct the research and maybe based on surveys due to lack of literature. And of course, organizing your thoughts, jotting down before you start writing you have to have the outline, the introduction, the methods that you're going to use to develop the research, expected results, possible results, and then your conclusion. So you have to have this nicely outlined. Now, the thesis statement is the heart of your project. It's the heartbeat. That's what's going to guide your research, guide how you're going to search for literature. It states your central argument. It will inform the purpose and the position of your paper. And you have to answer your research question. So you have to have a research question. What are you investigating? What is your big doubt? You have to have a concise and coherent thesis statement. And of course, it will guide your arguments, because based on your thesis statement, as I said, you're going to conduct research, you're going to look for references. So let's take how we can develop a thesis statement. So one topic here that I found interesting is that a few years ago, I don't know if you watched this, but Jamie Oliver, he's a chef in England, and he was invited to restructure the schools, the elementary and secondary schools, nutrition, the meals. So he was invited to do this and to reorganize, because it was just full of fat and high in carbs and sugar. Sugar was one of the main concerns. So the main concern here was sugar consumption. Okay, so he was really concerned about the sugar consumption. Now, so that's the big topic. That is the general topic, the general subject that we're going to develop. Then we're going to narrow it down by reading about it. So then we found out that elementary school children are consuming far more sugar than is healthy. So we're starting to narrow down sugar consumption. It's a very big general topic. Now we start to narrow it down. Elementary school children are consuming far more sugar than is healthy. So maybe the goal here is to reduce sugar consumption by elementary school children. So then you take a position, decide what you really want to say about this topic. Are you concerned about it? Do you believe, do you agree that it is needed, that sugar should be reduced? Children's consumption of sugar should be reduced. I do. So more attention should be paid to the food and beverage choices available to elementary school children. So from sugar consumption, the concern that elementary school children are consuming, but I have a position here. We need to reduce, but how? Well, first, more attention should be paid to the food and beverage choices available to elementary school children. So this will be basically the final thesis statement, because from this now, we're going to, the research will develop finding statistical data, analyzing the menu, maybe analyzing the amount of calories, the intake of calories, and then of food and beverage. But of course, focusing not only on sugar now. So more attention should be paid to food and beverage choices available to elementary school children. Of course, that then the research is going to somehow, as is developed, since I have reducing sugar and sugar consumption as also a general subject, I will look for resources and references that talk about the food and beverage, sugar consumption, maybe analyze labels of, the nutrition labels. Let's talk about this now, work-life balance. So this fragment isn't a thesis statement. It indicates a general topic. So we need to narrow down this topic. We're going to read about the topic. We're going to take a position on the topic, decide what you really want to say about the topic. So for instance, how balancing work life influences in your personal relationships, or how it impacts negatively when work life is not balanced. So how are you going to discuss this? What point do you want to make? Do you want to highlight the importance of work-life balance? Do you want to highlight how to reach work-life balance? What is the purpose of your paper here? So you will develop. So let's suppose work from home opportunities and 6-hour work days will improve productivity when employees are in the office. So I've read about it, and in Canada, I know that they're trying to cut down, the hours, as in many other countries, trying to reduce to 6 hours instead of 8 hours, the working day. So work from home opportunities, I also think this is a very good option because you can then balance your work and your personal and family tasks and chores. So work from home opportunities and 6-hour work days will improve productivity when employees are in the office. So work from home, but when they go to the office, it would be a 6-hour shift. So now the thesis statement is corporations should provide more work from home opportunities and 6-hour workdays so that office workers have a better work-life balance and are more likely to be productive when they are in the office. Because since they have a shorter shift, so then I'm going to do research and I'm going to analyze why is a 6-hour workday more productive? And trust me, there are lots of research already concerning this topic. So this will be a viable topic. Of course, to reach this thesis statement, a lot of thought has been put in it, a lot of scribbling, changing thoughts. So to write the introduction, so you're going to think, what is your paper about? You're going to introduce the topic and key terms and ideas. Now, you also include in your introduction, why is your paper worthwhile? Or how will it contribute? So you're going to tell the reader what new insights you will offer. You're going to offer how the influence and the results that you can, the outcomes of balance, of work-life balance. What are you going to discuss? How companies, how corporations can have an important role to play. How will you make your arguments? So you can give some signposting about the structure of the paper. Are you going to work with survey, literature references, or both? Because you can combine survey and literature, and then you have comparisons even. You can say, okay, so according to the literature, yes, the survey supports what the literature shows. And of course, you're not going to have only one perspective, but the survey, you can somehow expand your survey if you wish to analyze two different perspectives. Now, writing the body paragraph, each paragraph or section covers one idea. That's very important. Don't mix ideas in a paragraph. It makes it difficult to read. Avoid very long sentences as well. So your information has to be presented in a logical order that will serve your argument. You have to present evidence. Don't save anything for the conclusion. The conclusion is kind of like you're wrapping up. You're not going to present anything really new in the conclusion. Not for projects, not for final papers. You're going to present and develop all your central arguments, the evidence, and you will support your thesis statement. So throughout the paragraphs that you're writing, you always have to bear in mind your thesis statement. All the paragraphs, they have to be connected, have to be related to support your thesis statement, or to argue, or to contradict is not a good idea, to contradict yourself. Of course, you can show and you can write about the different perspectives, and as a comparison, as a tool of comparison. That is an interesting way to approach a topic, saying that there are different perspectives. Then you can use a survey to support one side. That's basically what we do when there are different perspectives. So there are many ways for you to conduct this. A paragraph structure, you should have an outline. Topic sentence, always have a topic sentence. Thesis statement in mind, and effective transitions within the paragraph. Now, what is the outline? So you will present, you will support, and you will extend your idea. That's the structure of a paragraph. Present your point, support your point, and then you will extend your idea in order to bring in new information and contribution. The conclusion. This is when you summarize your argument and central point. No new arguments or evidence are introduced in the conclusion. In the conclusion, you're also going to show that as a researcher, you recognize limitations of the research, difficulties that you faced to develop the research, suggest also how to, further the research, how it can be extended, the research itself, because we're never really able to conclude in full a research. There's always something more that could be added, but due to time limitations or word count, that wasn't included. But you, as a researcher, you can show and inform your reader that you are aware that more can be done. Now you're going to edit. So after you have written your introduction, now, and your body paragraphs, your conclusion, now is the time for revision. You've done a lot of work already, but there's still more ahead. It's time to edit. Now, you have to edit for content. So is the content is the content aligned with your thesis statement? Does it support your thesis statement? Does it answer your research question? And then you're also going to edit for grammar, commas, run-on sentences, because when we're writing, as a writer and researcher, our mind is focused on content, on connecting the ideas, the transitions, and organizing. So we're not really focused on grammar. That's why you need to do a grammar, revision. This is the list of the most common errors that we find, that we see, or at least I see, and this is not only my list, but it's a well-known list already of the most common errors that are found in research papers and essay writing. Now, in order to identify your own mistakes, you have to read through it, and you should also ask another teacher to read it. You should hire someone to review your paper. I have a reviewer that before I publish, I send any article to be published. He will edit my writing, because sometimes I lose track of what I'm doing and I miss a comma and a final stop. So that's why you need someone to review. Now, reread before you submit your research paper. So you have reviewed it, you have edited, somebody, a professional has reviewed it, or another teacher. You will still take a break, put it away for a couple of days, then you will read again. And trust me, it's an important step. Set it aside 2-3 days, let your mind, drift away a little bit, distance yourself from it, and then you will read again. You may still find adjustments needed. So this is our checklist. Does your paper fulfill all of the requirements that the assignment asked for? Did you stick to the topic that fits the assignment? This is going off topic. You may get a penalty then. Are your sources credible, reliable, and logical? So remember the CRAP test. Do you have a clear, arguable thesis statement and original? Remember that. Is your paper organized in a logical way that it is easy to understand? As we say, the introduction and the body of the research paper, which will be the literature reference, the methodology that you're going to develop, that you're going to use, results, and the conclusion. Did you plan? Plagiarism is a big, big problem. Don't put yourself in a situation that you will be identified in your paper that there is plagiarism. It's avoid. You can avoid that. You just cite. And there are several ways that you can cite, but it's important. You should not copy without referencing the author or authors. And when you cite authors, it shows that you as a researcher, you did your job. You read, you compared, you checked different perspectives. So citing authors, in fact, contributes to demonstrate how in depth you researched. Proofread for content and grammar. Is your paper properly formatted? Are you following the format that was requested? Because there are different formats. Are you prepared to submit? Only after you have checked and crossed out all 8, then you ask yourself, am I ready to submit? So as a big overview, you have introduction, body, and conclusion. In the introduction is where you're going to inform the reader your research question and your thesis statement. Then in the body, it's the research results and arguments. In the conclusion, summary of key points and significance of the topic, but nothing new here. I really like this website, Citation Generator. It's very practical and it's easy to make your citations. They have different formats, MLA, Vancouver, and so on. So APA, you have a lot of different forms of citation, and it will generate. You put in the data, like the name, the author, the name of the book or the article, where it was published, and it will format. You can create your first APA citation then by using this YouTube channel. The YouTube channel explains very nicely. I'm going to put these in the chat box for us. Let me just copy this. The citation generator and the YouTube channel, the hyperlink is not available in the chat box. So let me grab this. Bear with me just one little minute. So this is the one for the citation generator. And then the other one is the YouTube channel that teaches you how to do it.
Hey, welcome. I'm Jessica, and this is Scriber's channel.
So this is the YouTube link. There we go. And then finally, we're going to discuss briefly now so that you can start to analyze and consider the 4 topics available. So there are a few research projects that you can choose from, but we also accept alternative project if it is in line with teaching English or other languages such as French, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic. So you'll have to check with Dr. Siavash how to organize if you're writing it in a different language, if you're obtaining your certification for a different language, if not English. So the first prompt is to teach English to children of English-speaking families, born and raised in a Korean, an Arabic or Chinese or Spanish-speaking country. So This is a research that you should develop in 8 to 10 pages. So here, focus on resources to use in your primary classroom. The other project that is available is describe the best method to teach on my camera. Well, I'm not sure how to do that. Let me just conclude here now and then I'll open it up. So for instance, you're going to describe the best method to teach English to non-native English speakers who live in Korean or Chinese or Arabic speaking environment. So for example, the person lives in Dubai but wants to study English. So you're going to compare this with non-native English students residing in the USA. You can concentrate on business English or rather than academic language, because most likely we'll be dealing with less academic language if it's a business environment. Business environment will use different vocabulary and structures. You can try to compare the same learning group, people who don't speak English as their mother tongue, in two different environments, and evaluate methods used and results achieved, advantages and disadvantages, along with the methodologies that suit best in either condition. So you're going to, here it's mostly a comparative research design in language learning. Then you have the third option, which is to elaborate on the formation of English foundation at primary learning levels to a foreign speaker that intends to learn writing and reading in English for academic reasons. And this person is located in a country such as China or Egypt, where the first language is not English as well. And this is for academic purposes like TOEFL, IELTS, and university entrance exams. And then finally, you will elaborate on teaching and to compare the LINK program introduced by the federal government to other immersion and intensive programs used in language schools all across Canada. You will provide suggestions on improving the LINK and outline its advantages or disadvantages comparing to other programs available in Canada. And for more resources, so this is a tool that I use frequently, okay? It's a plagiarism detection tool for when we're reading your papers that you send in, we scan them with the plagiarism detection tool. Plagiarism is a crime, so you cannot plagiarize. Once again, you don't have to, it's very simple to avoid it. Cite the author, cite the source, and once again, it will contribute to your research project, showing that you did your job, you did your research, okay? For references, this slide presentation will be available. I will send it to Dr. Siavash so he can send it over to you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Next week, we will discuss in detail each one of the topics. So for next week, if you could, go through the 4 proposed topics and try to understand a little bit about each, and even maybe already start to narrow down which one clicks for you, and then we can discuss it together. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I know that many of you may not have started your research paper yet, but you should start thinking about it already. Okay? Bye now. Oh, the video. Sorry. The video was off. So have a wonderful day or evening, depending where you are. And as I said, for our next meeting, if you could go through the 4 topics proposed and understand a little bit, and suddenly by reading, you may have questions, or as I said, suddenly one will click for you and you will say, no, this is the one. Okay? Take care for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.